Alright guys, today we are reading chapter 4 of the Spain Sailing Season. Hopefully you guys have got this book already. If not, go get one. This is a really good book. Um, it's more like a field book. We are working together, right? So chapter 4, if you haven't really read chapter 1, 2, or 3, so go to my live and I have read chapter 3. I have read chapter 2 as well, but I'm going to upload later on today. We'll see. Alright, so chapter 4, four stage of a sales call. So we have an opening, get started, and then position yourself to ask questions. And then you go into the investigating, asking questions, understand the buyer's needs and concern, and then demonstrating the capability to show how you can help. The fourth stage is obtaining commitment, gaining agreement to the next step. Okay? Overview. What are the four stages of a sales call? The first one, opening, the preliminary, including introduction and beginning the conversation. Number two, investigating, uncovering, clarifying, and developing the end buyer's needs. Number three, demonstrate the capability, establishing how your solution meets the end buyer's need. And number four, obtaining commitment, securing agreements to the actions that move the sales forward towards the purchases. Research advance research evidence shows that the investigating stage is the most crucial to success in large or complex sales, which is most important. Almost all sales, from the simplest to the most sophisticated, go through the same four stage, leading to the same ultimate result or outcomes. An order or win, where there's a commitment to buy. No sales or lose, where there's a refusal to buy. Right? But in large or complex sales call, because of the time required to complete the sale, there may be also two other intermediate outcomes. First is an advance, where there's a buyer agreement on the action that moves the sales forward, or a continuation, where there's no buyer agreement on the action that moved the sales forward. Okay, you have advancement, and you also have a continuation. One advancement, you have commitment, continuation, no commitment. So what does that real means? So in large or complex sales, the whole cycle usually requires multiple calls. Success in obtaining a commitment depends on skill for conducting the investigating stage. It is crucial to set realistic call objectives and achieve call outcomes that actively move the sales forward. So basically, you need a plan to get it started, right? The most important stage in cell research in the Spain research shows that investigating is the most important stage of the cell. Investigating is the most research is the most important. However, for generations the traditional wisdom didn't acknowledge the importance of investigating. Many sales managers swore the obtaining commitment closing had to be the most important. In small cells, there is some evidence to suggest that if you cannot close, you cannot sell. But in large and complex cells, success depends more than anything else on the skills used by the seller in the investigating stage. What exactly is investigating? In the sales context, investigating means systematic discovering, exploring, clarifying, and understanding the problem, I think, the buyer's needs, and the problems, and to investigate, you must ask questions. Then the question will be, what question should I ask, right? I don't know. Let's find out. Yeah, highlight this. You guys need to take notes. If you don't take a note, I don't think you're going to master it. Questions, all kinds of questions. Questions that are most effective form of verb behavior you can use to persuade. And there's no not just in selling. Multiple research studies have overwhelmingly shown that most questions are asked in successful negotiation, management interaction, performance interviews, and group discussions, and other interactions than in unsuccessful ones. Okay. Huthway's research went further. We explain sufficient scientifically. For example, the standard assumptions that open questions are better for selling than closed questions. First, let's define each. Closed questions can be answered with a single word, often yes or no, right? Open-ended questions require longer, more descriptive answers, often taking a form of "Could you tell me something about?" or "Why is that important to you?" Since open questions to get the buyer talking, conventional wisdom has been that there ought to be a connection to successful selling. Our study found, however, that there's no link between whether questions are open or closed and successful selling. But we did find that certain kinds of questions are linked directly to successful selling when asked in a particular consequence. It's pretty important. Particular consequence. As we have seen, there are also other spin questions. Why the investigating stage is so important. People purchase something to meet needs or resolve problems. They decide to buy when the pain of the problem and desire for a solution has been built to the point where they are greater than the cost of the solution. Let me repeat. This is really important to understand. People purchase something to meet needs or resolve problems. They decide to buy when the pain of a problem and desire for a solution have been built to the point where they are greater than the cost of the problem. And it's the investigating stage where spin questions are used to help you to uncover and develop your end buyer's needs. Problem. Opening the call. In larger sales, less is known about the opening stage of the call than the other stage for a simple reason. Most larger sales involve existing customer and client where buyer and sellers are already acquired. Less than 5% of the meeting that major account selling seller have the first calls with the new customers. But some research data does exist for those kind of openings. The book Spin Selling describe how and why certain traditional method for opening a call may work in a small cell but don't for a large sales. If you look at page 137 to 140, is that in the Spin Selling book? Could be. One such approach is the use of an opening benefit statements. In this approach, the seller opens with a statement about how the product or services could help the buyer. In a very brief calls, they are less than 10 minutes long. An opening benefits statement may help engage the buyer's interest in your product or services. By a longer calls, on average business-to-business calls lasts 40 minutes. There's no link between the success of the sale and using the opening benefit statements. In fact, it can be risky. Don't introduce your solution too soon. One of the biggest traps in experienced sellers fall into is introducing their solution too early. It is so tempting and so common that we are cautioning you frequently about it. What our research has repeatedly shown is that successful sellers don't talk about their product, the service, or the benefits of the solution until later in the sales call. That's pretty important. Until the later in the sales call. Since making an opening benefit statement is an very early way of introducing your product or services, is very likely to sabotage your call. Why? Because it forces the seller to talk about a product or service detail before building value. It allows the buyer to ask questions and take control of the discussion. So you always want to take control of the discussion yourself. The purpose of opening. The purpose of opening is to gain the buyer's agreement for you to ask questions to move on to the investigating stage. Okay. The purpose of opening is to ask questions to get permission. A good opening should establish a buyer-centered proposals. Purpose. What does this mean? It means focus on the buyer's concern rather than your product or services. It also means being flexible, considering factors such as who set up the meeting, how well you know the client or customer, and what time constraint exists. Although you also need to communicate who you are and why you are there, as well as establish a basis for asking your spin questions. It is important to stay focused on the buyer's concern rather than your own needs. It is very important. Being buyer-centered helped establish trust, receptive, receptivity, and build your credibility. That's pretty important. I can imagine you come to me and say, "Hey, how good are my products?" I don't really care. Right? Opening your calls effectively. Get down to your business quick. While you need to respect the norm of the organization and culture, a greater danger is wasting the time of your buyers, of the busy executives. As a general rule, spend as little as necessary on the opening. Don't talk about a solution too soon. Right. Using the opening benefit statements is an important of a premature introduction to using an opening benefit. Right, back up. Number two, don't talk about your solution too soon. Using an opening benefit statement is an example of prematurely introducing your solution. It is crucial to develop the buyer's needs and build value before you offer a solution or talk about your capability. Talking about a solution too soon causes objections and reduce the likelihood of a sale. Number three, concentrate on questions. Don't worry about too much about appearing too smoothing or polish it in the preliminaries of the call. Plan some appropriate questions ahead of a meeting and use the time in the opening stage to gain the buyer's concerns to consent to move forward to the investigating stage. If you find that your buyer is asking questions that you are being asked for facts and explanations, you will need to vary the way you open calls to establish your roles as a questioner during this stage. Now I'm thinking about it. Yes, when I open my call, they kept asking me the questions. I need to take control. It's pretty important. It will help you it will help if you practice doing 30-second opening until you are confident you are covering the key point without sounding automatic. The best test of whether you are being effective in opening stage is how readily the buyer becomes receptive to answering your question. I think I have my opening has too much frictions because they keep asking me the question who you are, why you here, things like that. So I probably need to include that in my openings in the future. The spin questions and investigating stage. Since the investigating stage has the most impact on buyer's decision to purchase your product or services, using the spin questions effectively is, as you will see, the core of a successful face-to-face selling. Okay, so face-to-face selling. The next chapter will allow you to will show you how to use spam questions during the investigating stage to uncover, clarify, and develop your needs. Demonstrating capability. Sooner or later, you have to demonstrate that you have the solution that can help solve the problem's need. you can use a very variety of methods to demonstrate the value of your solution. But what may work in a simple sales won't work at the size of complex of the sales increase. One example is that in a large sale, introducing your solution later is clearly more effective than doing it sooner. Chapter 10 covers how need payoff questions are used during this stage to help the buyer identify the benefits and, by extension, the value of your solution. Chapter 11 devotes to demonstrate the capability. Obtaining commitment. When Spend Selling was first published, common wisdom how strongly to obtain commitment. Closing was the most important stage of the sales. Chapter 2 of the book described the struggle we went through to show conclusively that the traditional wisdom about the importance of closing was just plain wrong. Right? In large or complex sale, what is most important is how the seller handles the investigating stage. It's 2 minutes spin. Come on. Spin selling has helped people understand how traditional closing techniques are indeed ineffective or have a negative impact when sales is large or complex, when it involves high value goods or services. Selling to a sophisticated customer or client, for example, a professional buyer, is not going to work. There is a continuity relationship after sale. That's not. So Spend Selling not only points out the danger of closing, it also points out that you must still obtain some kind of commitment from the buyer or you won't have the sale. In a simple sale, either you get a commitment to buy or order, or the prospect refuses to buy, or you have a no sale. Either way, it's relatively easy and quick to tell if you have a successful sale. But larger complex sales are very different. In larger sales, the key is to obtain the right commitment. Obtaining the right commitments, large sales can involve many individual calls and sometimes takes years to complete. In major account sales, fewer than 10% of the calls actually result in an order or no sale, with neither an outright rejection or contractual contract in hand. How can you tell if a call is successful? What other call outcomes might define success versus failure in a large or complex sale? Right. The starting point for obtaining commitment in large kind of sales is determine the level of the commitment that would make the call a success. So we have a call outcomes. In simple sales, there are really just two possible outcomes. You either get an order or no sale. Large or complex sales are different. It may take months or years to get an order. I need a drink. So you need to be able to identify other successful and unsuccessful call outcomes along the way. In larger sales, if an individual call results in an action that moves you closer to the sale, what we call an advance, it is a successful outcome. The key measure is getting buyer agreement on an action that moves you toward the sale. The action may be taken by either the buyer or the seller, but a buyer action always makes a clear and a strong advance because it shows the buyer's commitment to moving the sales forward. The buyer agrees to attend a demo or arrange a meeting for the seller with other decision makers. A buyer's request for proposal would not be a clear advance unless the buyer also agreed to take some action that moves the sale forward, such as reviewing the section of a criteria before you write a proposal or discussing a draft proposal before final submissions. So we have this call outcomes, these pictures. Call outcomes: simple sales, orders, win; no orders, lose, dead. Complex sales, 4 possible outcomes: orders, win; commit to buy; advance, agreement, and an action that moves the sale forward. I would like to talk to my partner next week. Unsuccessful sale is continuation. Discuss continues without agreement on action. Great discussion. Call me again sometime. I think a lot of people have this. I had this a lot. I hate it. What are we going to talk about next time? Do you want to do it or not? Right? No sales or lose. Refuse to buy. The outcome of a call that does not reach agreement on action that moves the sales forward, a continuation, is unsuccessful no matter how pleasant or complimentary of the buyer seems. Right? That's correct. You think about this. Opening, right? Obtaining commitment to starts before the discussion by setting an objective that will lead you to realistic commitments, and then during the investigation stage, you have that, right? You have all four stages of obtaining commitment. A summary: the top seller obtaining commitment. A summary: top sellers close more calls more effective by turning continuation into an advance, understanding what kind of an advance can make the call successful, setting realistic closing objectives that move the sales forward. That's really good. Planning advance. Top sellers reach their ultimate goal by consistently planning and conducting a call that move the sales forward in steps. What exactly do? They start by brainstorming and identifying the wide set of reality of the events that could have made them forward towards a sale. Really skilled sellers then select those ingenuous small actions that the buyer is likely to agree to. Having determined an array of the use advance, the seller is ready to set a realistic call objective, but will have alternative actions to propose as needed for the actual visits. This approach increases the likelihood that the visit will result in an advance. You're going to plan it in advance in order to get an advance. Right. All right, let's get. I think this is an example. The seller provides corporations with mobile telephone system package that include equipment, repair services, an array of calling phones, calling plans, voicemails, and other services. The customer contact is a senior project manager in the company's telecommunication department, and is one member of the six-member selection team, chaired by a department director. That will make the final purchase decision. This is important. It's one of the six people who can make the final decision. The customer has 6 regional cities sites in the country. The seller is planning for the second meeting with this contact. Possible events: meet the department director, yes, who is the chair, using our vice president sales to set up the meeting. Get the project manager to call 2 of our successful customers. Oh, that could be. Get a seller to call the other people who can be a testimonial. Get a meeting arranged with all the members of the selection team. Set up an introduction to the regional sales manager during the elected telecom fair. So you get more events to set up another meeting. Get their list of vendor selection criteria. That'll be great. Get a contact to attend a demo at our office. That's a strong commitment. If they come, they has high likelihood they're gonna buy, right? Get contact to propose a pilot field test to other selection team members. Get an introduction to other departments heads. That's all advanced. Example: less successful seller get more continuations, where skilled sellers get advanced. How does that happen? Many less successful salespeople are content with objections like collect information about a customer, build a rapport with your buyer, or get the buyer to say they like our system. There's nothing wrong with the objections like this, right? It's always good to find out more and build a relationship, but by themselves, objectives like those don't have action that move the sales forward. They are continuations. Sales techniques more. Selling requires more. It needs action and advance to move the sales forward. Practice brainstorming possible events. Select a customer or client of yours that you are scheduled to visit in the next couple of weeks. Based on the current stage you are in the sales scale and using your existing knowledge of your buyer's needs, brainstorm potential events. Go for quantity and variety, including as many actions as possible that if you agreed by the end buyer could move the sales forward. I need to do this. This is my homework. Homework. All right. Hopefully you guys are gonna doing this as well. We can do this next time together. List the possible events you come up with the following space. Check each advance to make sure it has a forward action. Otherwise, it's just a continuation. Possible events, is this seller advance not a continuation? Yes or no? Right. And 5. Choose the advance that involve the highest realistic action you think you can achieve. Make this call objective for your next visit. Highlight some fallbacks alternatives to offer as needed. After a visit, review the actual call's outcome. Did you get the advance? Okay, I think that's pretty important. That I need to practice those. Okay, check yourself call outcomes. We have this check yourself. We have a lot. Okay, we have nine questions. Here we go. Are you clear about the possible call outcomes? Try to identify each of the following as either an order / sell, advance, commitment, or no sell. Call outcome. I will cut purchase order so we can start right away. I will cut a purchase order. I think that's a sell. That's an order. Now, although we liked what you showed us, we have to decide to go with our board associate. I think this is advanced. I like what you have got to offer, and I enjoy your presentation. This continuation. Let's meet again to continue the discussion sometime next month. For what? Continuation. I can't make the decision alone, but I will arrange you. I will arrange for you to meet my partner next week. I think this is an advance. We'll think about it and probably call you next few months. This is no sell. Okay. What's the difference between no sell and continuation? It really depends on complexity, right? If you could include those schedule modifications in your proposal, I'll present to my associate. I think this is advanced. All I need is my accountant's okay. We will review it against our financial criteria. If passed, then you will get a deal. This is an advancement. This is a commitment. Now, we really need to see the system in action. Can you arrange a local demonstration for me? Yeah, that's a commitment. That's a continuation. Oops. This is an advancement. First, let's see the first one. Let's see the answer. The first one is sell. If the buyer is prepared to complete the paperwork, there's not much doubt you want the work. You want the work. The second is no sell. The client or customer has given you a clear statement that they are not really buying from you. What's that? Oh no, this is right. This is right. This is not advanced. This is no sell. So, third one. Continuation is certainly nice that the buyer has to say something, but because there's no action involved that might progress the sale, this can only be continuation, and forces continuation as well. Agreement to another meeting by itself with no action, just continuing the sale rather than moving it forward to decision by. What I said continuation. Yeah, good. For example, the person added, I will bring one of the other vice president for the selection meeting, then this will be an advance. If you just say we can continue discussion, will be no continuation. The fifth one, there's an action, a meeting with a partner which advances the sales towards the decision making to buy. Right. The sixth is the door isn't closed, but it could be typically a brush off to get rid of the seller without actually saying no sales. Think about it. In this case, is not action, does not reprogress the cell. The six is continuation, yes. 7, advance. Here the buyer is proposing two actions, one for the sellers and one for the buyer, right? And 8, advance. There's no order. This is not an order of sale, nor it is a 99% time definite like a promise. Unless there's an unshakable commitment to selling, you should downgrade this kind of statement to an advance. And 9, the buyer is proposing 3 actions. In this case, the seller's action is to arrange a demo and or visit, and the buyer's 2 actions are to attend the demo and bring the product to the product manager. Alrighty, right. That's it for chapter 3. Chapter 4. Hope you guys learned something, and we're gonna do the homework together. I will schedule some time about this to outline the potential advancements, and stay tuned for the additional contents. We're going to do chapter 5 tomorrow, and so on and so forth. All right, peace.